KPIX 5 News begins with a showdown over free speech on the Cal campus. A polarizing pundit just a couple hours away from taking the stage, but protesters are vowing to shut down the show. Good evening, I'm Veronica De La Cruz.
I'm Alan Martin. A live look from Chopper 5 for you. Extra security on hand at UC Berkeley tonight ahead of an appearance by ultra-conservative columnist Milo Yiannopoulos. The crowd has grown larger just within the past 30 minutes. Now we see campus police taking up positions there, protesters trying to tear down the barricades. KPIX 5's Phil Mateer on campus. Phil, we saw what happened a few weeks back at UC Davis. The rowdy protest there seems like could be similar thing tonight.
That's right, Alan, and take a look at it live. We're here at Sproul Plaza. Take a look at this live. They've pulled back, torn down the barricades, and now they're shooting off firefighters into the theater where the Yiannopoulos is scheduled to speak. BlackRock showed up just a little while ago. I think you can see him in the background. We've got the police behind one set of barricades. You can take a look at the crowd. You see the ones with the face coverings and the sticks in the foreground. Behind them are the other demonstrators. The BlackRock people moved in just a couple of seconds ago, and we're trying to tear down the barriers, as you can see over there. And the question is, are they going to go for So we've got a pretty tense situation working here. The cops are remaining calm. The protests are clearly trying to clear the way, possibly to move in on the building itself, creating an unsafe situation to cancel the event. So we've got the BlackRock people out in force. They just showed up a couple of minutes ago, completely changed the tone of the demonstration, what had been largely peaceful, into much more of an aggressive and confrontational situation. And now we see the protesters, led by the BlackRock group, starting to make a move directly on the Martin Luther King Jr. student complex, where the talk is taking place on the second floor. Now, a couple of minutes ago, police had started bringing in members of the audience, escorting them into the theater, but they stopped doing that. And now we see police over to our left, gearing up. They've got possibly tear gas. I don't know what kind of stun guns they have there ready, but both sides are gearing up for a possible confrontation, it looks like. And right over there, Rick, can you take a shot over that? You see the police lining up, taking aim.
Phil, we saw this happen at UC Davis, where, well, now we see the officers picking up weapons that they're going to fire into the crowd. Smoke grenades, stun grenades, things like that. It looks like this definite line in the sand. Protesters obviously want to shut this thing down, and they don't want them to speak. Are the odds pretty good of that right now? Are you looking at this as a situation where the protesters are in control?
There goes another rock. Look, the protesters are starting to throw things, as you're seeing. The police are backing off. My understanding from UC is that they, rather than risk any kind of problems or any safety issue, they will shut it down if that's what it requires. But as you can see, they're starting to throw flammables up onto the second floor. Some of them have gone off, some of them haven't. So that's the situation we're in right now. Police have stepped back. They're back over here towards the entrance. They're not being confrontational. Nobody's going out to confront the crowd. The question is whether the crowd is going to move in to confront the police, and that's what we're seeing.
Well, Phil, we can see that there are quite a few people there. The demonstrators obviously on the move now with their banner dressed in black. Give us a sense of the percentage of the crowd. Is it a minority protesters? Obviously, they're on the move.
Well, it is a minority group that just came in a little while ago, Alan. They do not represent everybody here, but I have to say that the purpose of the demonstration is to shut this down. That is why they're here. It's not just a protest, but to shut it down. And now they've just taken off the floodlights, and they're going for the last barrier between the protesters and the student union. Over to our left, we see the police lined up.
Those look like fireworks going off, and they're spraying what looks like a fire extinguisher.
Yeah, a fire extinguisher at the area. Over to our left, the police. Now they're starting to throw things at the UC police that are gathered over at one of the entrances behind the cover of the smoke and the fireworks.
And Phil, are we really looking at aerial shots of what's happening there on the ground? Give us a sense of how many people are there.
Starting to go straight at the building. There's a couple
many
of thousand
protesters are
people
there?
here. It's hard to tell because it's dark. I would say about 1,500 to 2,000. It's hard to tell because you have people walking through this area at the same time.
Well, it makes you wonder how much police are going to take of this before they actually step in.
Or if they move to shut it down. I'm not sure if the rule tonight is to confront or whether it is to diffuse and to just let it go.
And Phil, where are you watching from right now? Where are you standing? Do you feel safe where you are?
Well, as safe as you ever feel in one of these situations. I mean, we're here, we're on the ground, we're right next to the demonstrators. There it goes, one of the barriers going up. All right.
And that went into the...
So they're moving on a direct attacks onto the building.
Right,
They're
that
using
went
the
into the doors.
barricades to take on the building. Yeah, that went into the road. Here goes another one.
And still, police have not moved out of that position from the left of the building?
No one's making a move, no.
Phil,
No.
can you tell us
As a
more
matter of fact, they've
about...
gone inside. Some of them have gone inside the building now.
Can you tell us more about these protesters? You had mentioned the various groups that are there. You had mentioned the BlackRock groups.
It's a mix. It's a mix of It's a mix of students. There's students. There are protesters that we've seen at other protests, like at Occupy, and the BlackRock group, which is the more militant of the groups and the more aggressive that we're seeing right now. They're the ones who, for a long time, they come in with their faces covered. They're ready for action. They carry sticks, sometimes with banners. The banners come down. The sticks come out. They tear down the barriers, and now they're moving and running up against and throwing things into, trying to break into the place. Well, and there goes the floodlights. They're knocking over the floodlights. They're trying to tear those down as well, trying to pull them over.
Well, and at some point,
as
I
you
mean,
can
the
see,
public
the protest
safety
right up here is cutting the restraints on these.
Right, and at some point, police are going to have to decide if public safety.
Here goes another one. The barricades are now being used as weapons. Alan, the barricades, you can see now they're using them as battering rams and setting off fireworks and battering rams as they're trying to go right into the building itself. Now, the event is on the second floor. The ground floor, as far as we know, the only people in there are possibly police and officials.
And do we know where Milo Yiannopoulos is at this point?
So they're systematically cutting the... No, we don't know if he's in the building or not. I saw some of the young Republicans who are hosting the event. They were escorted in by police before this broke out. All right, here we go with another assault on the building. It looks like they're just going to go straight at it now, with the sticks, as we talked about before, and the battering rams.
And Phil, one of the questions, obviously, I mean, we've known that Milo Yiannopoulos is
The demonstrators are clearly in control of the situation right now.
Absolutely.
We've known about this event for quite some time, and it doesn't look as though there are enough police there. Give us a sense of how many police are there and what they're doing right now.
Look, Veronica, it's very clear. The police are inside. They have been told not to engage at this point. They are standing back. We see this in demonstrations in the Bay Area before. The feeling is that the property damage, whatever it may be, is less costly than anybody getting hurt. And so the police repeatedly, in situations like this, take the tactic of standing back and hoping it's going to diffuse. What happens here remains to be seen, but we've seen this before in the Bay Area. The police are behind the glass you see over there. They're not confronting the demonstrators. They're not trying to stop them, at least at this section. They're letting them have their way.
Have you seen any...
But they're not, nobody appears to be physically being hurt right now.
Okay, so no violence right now.
There's no police moving in. There's no armored vehicles. No violence except for at the building.
Right, at this point, the protesters
I'm not seeing any violence between people here, between them or the demonstrators.
And there's nothing going on in the crowd?
They're attacking the building, not the people that may be going in.
Okay, that was my question. So they're not attacking...
I can't get over there, Alan. I'm over here. All I can see was right now.
And the smoke's pretty thick.
It doesn't appear like... No, there's nobody in the crowd, but... Right.
So folks that are there to see Milo Yiannopoulos, where are they entering the building? And have you spoken to any of them?
I spoke to one who was on his way in. He said that he'd been confronted by demonstrators and they'd broken his cell phone. Now, earlier we were told that the police were going to be gathering. If you had a ticket, you'd go in the side and the police would vet you and bring you in. I don't know if we have a camera and a crew inside yet, but they were going to be bringing them in. But although some of them were brought out here by the front, the police are now taking up on the second floor. You're getting the reaction from the demonstrators.
Well, it makes you wonder at what point how far police will let this go. The administration, when will they pull the plug on this? Just how much will they allow it to go on here?
Well, Alan, also there's a question of how far what they can do. We're in Sproul Plaza. Access is limited. There's not a lot of, the demonstrators have clogged just about every access. Getting any more police in the area would be very difficult. That would set, again, off a confrontation that obviously the university does not want to have. The university wasn't all that in favor of this happening, but they felt it was a free speech effort, and it was something that they felt as a public institution they had to hold. Whether they are going to turn that into something bigger remains to be seen. At Davis they didn't, and here they didn't. They just let it go. This building's obviously going to be sustaining some damage, though, and we'll see what happens if the demonstrators try to ramp it up.